Greetings, everyone. Greetings, blessed love. And we have to say, give thanks for bringing us through to this week. Although it's raining outside, I hope many of you are not being caught up in the rain. And we have to say, give thanks to the Most High. Give thanks to Bless Radio and management for bringing us this platform. And tonight in the studio, we have a guest, and this guest is JD. Nice to see you in the studio.
That's nice to be here.
That's brilliant. Thank you. Thank you for coming in to give us some reasoning here tonight on the Bless platform. So the first song I'm going to play for you tonight is by Brother Culture, and it's called Heal Them.
Now welcome to the musical healing. This one healing that I come revealing. No stealing, no backbiting, strictly forward movements, you know. Come in, oh. Healing, I healing. And we are bring the healing around. Healing, I healing. Healing in our country and the town. Healing, I healing. And we are bring the healing around. Healing, I healing. And we are bring the healing around. Second of the gender figure start the healing. We heal them in the morning, heal them in the evening. We heal them with faith and heal them with medicine. We heal them with love and make the good vibes come in. We heal them with the knowledge and the overstanding. The healing is a thing that comes straight from the king. So keep it parry and let the healing begin. The healing it a one when the record it a spin. I bring the healing in the town. Healing, I healing. How we are bring the healing around. Healing, I healing. Heal them anytime we touch down. Healing, I healing. How we are bring the healing around. Come now, take this a thing, reach out, come out of the brain. So we scan it and we run it and the brain get trained. Take a man from low and put him in a high plane. Take a man who is low and put him in a fast train. If the earth is dry, can we heal it with rain? If the earth is cold, then a warm sun rain. Heal them, I heal them. Heal them in a country or the town. Heal them, I heal them. How we are bring the healing around. Time we touch down. Heal them, I heal them. And we are bring the healing around. Now chat on the mic, now chat about plate. Holding them up on the dub plate. On the dub plate that make out a slate. Coming in early, never come late. Measure and suit, you need a tape. Making the wine, you need some grape. For the culture, me I meditate. Me I work on the mic and the vibe is great. Vibe is great, don't violate. Don't violate upon the dub plate. Hold on the mic and the place come awake. For the culture, make the world play shake. Rock them a east and rock them a west and rock them a north and rock them a south. When we come and dance, me I run it about. For the culture and the rock next coat. Heal them, I heal them. And we are bring the healing around. Heal them, I heal them. Heal them in the country and the town. Heal them, I heal them. Healing anytime we touch down.
Steady, I from far. With love in our heart, I Selassie, I never will depart. Say we no want no war. Till if we come on off ready. Rastaman now hold a steady medi. I from far. With love in our heart, I Selassie, I never will depart. Say I am a warrior. Blaze up the fire, said the wicked can't tarry ya. Water dark on the battlefield and break barrier. Can't trust no man, can't see them ulterior. The might and the power of the Trinity superior. Burn them institutional dogma. Burn feed them new world order. Them depress the people with them ism and terror. Fear on the world. Listen boys, I don't want no war. Still if you come on off you ready. Rasta man a go and hold it steady. I from far. With love in our heart. I listen last year, I never will depart. Say we don't want no war. Still if you come on off you ready. Rasta man a hold a steady medi. I from far. With love in our heart. I listen last year, I never will depart. Chakra. Love to one another as yourself, your own neighbor. Now follow Babylon propaganda. Now follow what them step you ripe and slander. Television, Decepticon, Transformer. Divide and roll what them plan to conquer.
Natasha.
Never could have conquered the Lion of Judah.
Never could have conquered the Lion of Judah.
So we don't want no war. Still if you come on off you ready. Rasta man a go and hold it steady. I from far. With love in our heart. I listen last year, I never will depart. Say we don't want no war. Till if you come on off you ready. Rasta man a hold a steady medi. I from far. With love in our heart. I listen last year, I never will depart. Hey. Justice must prevail, I away. Hey, justice must prevail. Justice must prevail, I will. Yeah, justice must prevail. Oh, yeah. So we don't want no war. Still if you come on off you ready. Rasta man a go and hold it steady. I from far. With love in our heart. I listen last year, I never will depart. Say we don't want no war. Till if you come on off you ready. Rasta man a hold a steady medi. I from far. With love in our heart. I listen last year, I never will depart. Hey.
Zion, you the one who turn up. Forward Rasta children,
This
let's
is Lightning the Magnetic. Because music.
For the youths of tomorrow. Forward Rasta children, let's join together. Forest on the mountain like the breeze, them where they blow forever. Nothing could have come where I and I can overcome. For the youths of tomorrow, I wanna circus music. We keep up on the tightrope. While we are music, like we would have come so long. The Rasta children are the beat so strong. The beat so strong. Beat so strong. Still we cite the word sound is mightier than the sword sound. Like up the fire, brimstone, lava, Babylon and burn down. No for them we totally gonna them same one get burned down. Some of them are selfish, now them feature in a rundown. Some of them are vampire, can't come out till sundown. Some of them are monkey climb up, I may tell them come down. I said monkey climb up, tell me tell them to come down. In a day alone, you know, say that no pretty. Marcus to life and move 10 miles from out the bloody city. I tell Ina, I labash, Chalice and my Gretty. Cheese songs are David Welking, highly still a greet me. And the royal empress loves so loyal and so sweetly. Rastafari, Lion of Judah powers them completely. And I love when Rasta music ever play concretely. Forward Rasta children, let's join together. Birds of a feather like
of tomorrow. Because I am children, let's join together. Always on the mountain like the praises, them a blow for the floor. Nothing can come where I am, get on the floor. For the youth of tomorrow. Circus music, keep the youth them juggling. Warrior music, make the strongest struggle so long. Children at a beat so strong. Children at a beat so strong. Rasta children at a beat so strong. Children at a beat. Children at a beat so strong. Still we cite the word. Sound is mightier than the sword. Sound. That's the fire, brimstone, lava, Babylon, burn down. Them same one to the gun, them same one get gunned down. Some of them are savage, well them feature in a rundown. Some of them are vampire, can't come out till sundown. Some of them are monkey climb up, I me tell them calm down. Some of them are monkey climb up, I me tell them calm down.
This is Jabami and Sons of Dub. Jah will be done.
Going where I belong, not where I'm tolerated. I've been going for so long. One day I'm gonna make it. I left the blueprints in my song, so you can learn and listen keenly. The only impossible journey, yeah, it's the one you never begin. Until Jah will be done, I'll hold my ground. The weak part couldn't face this. Until Jah will be done, Rasta hold on strong. Keep holding. Sometimes you have to just let go of what you thought should happen, and living what's happening now. Yeah, time isn't waiting. Remember all that you have lost. You have gained something different. If darkness not come about, yeah, some stars wouldn't make it. No, until Jah will be done, I'll hold my ground. The weak heart couldn't face this. Until Jah will be done, Rasta hold on strong. Yeah, until Jah will be done, I'll hold my ground. The weak heart couldn't face this. Until Jah will be done, Rasta hold on strong. Strong. Yeah. Going where I belong, not where I'm tolerated. I've been going for so long, yeah. One day I'm gonna make it. I left the blueprints in my song, so you can learn and listen keenly. The only impossible journey, yeah, is the one you never begin. Yeah, until Jah will be done, I'll hold my ground. The weak heart couldn't face this. Until Jah will be done, just hold on strong.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
track is called Footsteps.
Footsteps, footsteps. Jah is my only friend, who sticks with me to the end. At the start, I had to make a change. I did some shuffling and I rearranged for my life to have no meaning. I had to turn a clean page, let go and let the Father lift me to a higher place. I can't forget how He filled me up with grace, so full of mercy. He forgave my dirty ways. He's for real. He promises to lengthen up my days. If I would only give Him the praises that's due unto Him. That's why I hail the King of all kings. From whence cometh my help, from whence I get the blessing. So majestic and royal, turning with empress spelling. In a high Ethiopia, the whole earth bow down unto Him. With Rastafari, you can earn the purest way of living. Learn how to be humble, caring, and loving. The birds building nest, the monkeys them climbing. Mankind better catch the timing and walk in Jaja footsteps, footsteps. Footsteps, footsteps. Jah is my only friend, who sticks with me to the end. Footsteps, footsteps. Walk in Jaja footsteps, footsteps. Jah is my only friend, who sticks with me to the end. To walk with Jah, you must be clean and pure. To talk with Jah, you must be free and sure. Leave your burdens by the seashore and seek Jah wisdom more and more. He was there to pull me out of the merry clay. He's the same yesterday, tomorrow, and today. The shepherd never wants his sheep go astray. Always hide them in the right way. Give thanks to the King, yes, for the understanding, the knowledge and the wisdom. That is all I'm seeking. I look forward every day to see sun shining, and thank Rastafari for the uprising. Without apology and there's no compromising. With His Majesty King Selassie, there's good tidings. It is love, joy, peace that I bring, and that will keep me disciplined to walk in Jaja footsteps, footsteps. Footsteps, footsteps. Jah is my only friend, who sticks with me to the end. Footsteps, footsteps. Walk in Jaja footsteps, footsteps. Jah is my only friend, who sticks with me to the end. Footsteps, footsteps. Walk in Jaja footsteps, footsteps. Jah is my only friend, who sticks with me to the end. Footsteps, footsteps. Walk in Jaja footsteps, footsteps. Jah is my only friend, who sticks with me to the end.
That was Queen Amiga and Footsteps. So we're going to go into reasoning now with our guest, JD. So, so JD, I'd like to start with talking about your experience growing up in the UK within our youth culture, because for those listeners who've already heard on this platform, we've touched on certain areas of youth culture, and now we've got somebody who actually represents youth culture to give us actually their voice and what's going on.
I would say that with the UK, I would say it's a new culture to be honest, because with the youth, we're not really coming from a culture that's got a lot of our history. We've kind of come out and kind of paved them the way and made our own. The way you can tell from like the music that we make, down to our dress sense, even down to our lingo is kind of, we've created our own, which is quite good, because we've established our own identity, but we have forgotten where we've come from at the same time.
So do you think within youth culture now, they, because you said they've created their own, are there any elements that are inspired from within our culture? So elements of who we are as a people are being manifested in the output of youth culture, or is it completely about global borrowing?
Now I'll say a bit. I would say that we've got our own unique kind of culture, to be honest. So like down with like grime, I think it's kind of now becoming like mainstream with what we do, and it is kind of taking over. But as us youth, or as the youth in general, you're always gonna bring new. You're always gonna add on to what was before. So I feel like we've just kind of added on to like what was prior to us,
Prior,
and we've kind of
okay.
just added on our own twist to it now.
And how was growing up in, because you're London based, so
Yeah.
how was growing up in London based? I couldn't tell you about that because I'm from the northeast.
Okay, yeah, a bit different. I would say London. I think it's one of the best places to grow up because I have left London and been other places, and London is one of the most diverse places you will ever go to. And it's like growing up in primary school, I had people from all different cultures in my primary school, so my outlook on where I was and who's around me was a multicultural and it was diverse. Whereas you can go to some places just outside of London and it's predominantly one race.
Yeah.
So it was quite good for me because you learn about different people, that people coming from India with Sikh religion. You had people from Turkey, Muslim, Somalia, all over. And as a child, you don't have those stereotypes that be against anyone. So
Absolutely, children are free from those things.
we don't really stereotype as children. So I had friends from all different cultures growing up, and I think it's a bit better then because you don't get stuck in your ways. And I remember one of my friends was Chinese growing up, and because of him coming from a karate background, during playtime he would teach me karate.
So there's a lot of sharing within the youth then,
Oh, most
from very
definitely.
different cultures, and it's not as quite as separatist as perhaps the generation before you.
Yeah, I think we're one of the generations that kind of had a lot of freedom. So I can remember my dad telling me stories about growing up in the same place, London, but the same roads that I'm allowed to walk down, he would say stories where they weren't allowed to walk down. So there's definitely been a shift because I don't have no roads that I felt that was racist that I couldn't actually walk down. So
that's good.
so we have been quite open to be able to experience London.
Okay. So as a youth, what is it that the youth actually want to see from us elders? Like, what is it that you really want to see? Because lots of youth are like, them elders, them, let's forget about them. They don't know what they're talking about. There's a big
Yeah, I think with the new generation, I believe that we're a generation that is completely away from slavery in the essence that we are probably like the most free generation that has come along, and with a lot of the older generations, a few of them have been stuck in their ways into the way that they should act, coming from a slavery mentality from their
Okay.
grandparents, whereas
Okay, so within this dialogue, it means that this youth culture, but within the forgetting, is it a forgetfulness of the past, or is it kind of, I don't want to make that into my
I believe the older generation kind of hid it because I'm sure that my grandma's grandma would have experienced slavery firsthand, but that's never a story that was explained to me, and they would act like that never existed.
So is having, so do you think that the youth would benefit from having their actual history to give them that more of a foundation of who they are?
Yeah, most definite. Because even if you look into our history, we've not too long come out of slavery. So it's like if any generation is gonna look into where we actually come from, it's gonna be now, because you've had a lot that's just been indoctrinated into schools, follow religious. Like my grandma, for example, she wouldn't change religion as she's been following it for so long. So for a youth now to be looking to an elder to give them advice, you are semi dealing with someone that's been stuck in their ways, and we are in a time for change. So you got a kind of like conflicts there where
So from your perspective, how do you see bridging the gap between this elder that is a walking encyclopedia but is stuck in their ways, and a youth coming up trying to make their definition in society?
I think everyone a clean slate. Like if you want change, you kind of tend to change everything. You're not gonna just change one wall in your house. You end up changing the whole wall in that room. So I guess that everyone's got to come to a state that we got to remember the information, that where it's come from and who is giving us that information, and with age, all that comes is experience, because you can live for 50 years and all you've gained is experience, but you may not have gained knowledge. So I think with a lot of the older generation, they could give us experience on how long they've lived, but I think when it comes to the information, I think it's a lot of new information that we're coming into, because it's only recently where I realized where I was coming from. So I think if everyone was able to accept the fact that a lot of us have been mistaught, and we do need to refresh on the source of our information. I think we should all just start fresh, whereas not to just focus it on the youth of the ones that need to create or do the change, or the information needs to be coming for the elders, because we are at a state where everyone needs a change. I don't think there's an age limit on change.
Okay, so tell us about your journey,
Yeah.
like where you began and where you are now, experiencing growing up as an adolescent here, and why you are where you are now.
Yeah, I think I've always been a truth seeker. So I think deep down, I think a lot of people kind of settle for the way that the way that they're living. But I've always felt like something's not right, or it just doesn't feel right. And there is two ways that you live. You can live with your heart and you can live with your mind. In the essence, you can go with what you feel and you can go with what you think. So I think I've always been someone to more go with how I feel, and I've always felt that this is just not right. So with that, it kind of led me to kind of like to just even just use Google and even just type things like what is the truth. Just feeling like I wasn't settled with what I was getting, and with that, I actually did find out that there is a greener side on the other side, because I was finding out information that wasn't in my national curriculum. However, it was knowledgeable and worth me knowing, but I was not going to be educated.
Can you expand on that information? That information that is that missing bit of substance that the youth needs. So
Yeah.
what are they looking for? Like, because it seems as though there's some sort of internal wars going on.
Yeah, I feel like as black people as a race, I feel like we've done a lot of work and we don't have what other races have to show for it. And you're dealing with a generation now that has live examples as their parents that have done the same thing they're enforcing their children to do, and they're seeing the benefits. So whereas now I think we're looking for something that allows us to actually have our own, or have something that we can say that we're proud of, or something that even other races want to support and be like, look, that's what they have done. Because you can go to West End and see Chinatown. So I feel like but we're black here, you can't see nothing. Do you know what I mean? So I feel like there's nothing for us to aspire to.
Okay, so it's about making. So what the youth want to see is established sustainable presence on even on the high street, in the banks, in the
everywhere, because there's not a department that you don't see other races doing their own thing. So but we have none, and that's the thing. You're sending youth into a education system or into a workforce that doesn't have no result for their race to benefit from. And you're dealing with a youth that have seen their parents do it and just can't lie to themselves because they can see the living proof. They're getting fed of parents that have done this. Their clothes are being bought of parents that have done this. So when you're telling them to do this, it's like they don't need to go through school and go through working how long they're going to work for to see the result, especially when things are getting more expensive and harder. So it kind of, I think we do need our own, especially you got a lot of youths that know that most money goes through blacks and stuff like that. So when you're giving them that information on one hand, it's unsettling for that same youth to sit down and feel like, I'm going to work now, and even though I'm going to work, it's not going to actually benefit us. So I think like they are crying for change. The change isn't seen because it's something that's never really been there before, but it's like they can feel, and as I was saying that earlier, with knowing the truth or with what you think and what you feel, I think with a lot of us now, we just feel like this is not, it's not worth it, and because we're sacrificing time. Money's a thing can come and go, but when you've got a youth now starting school and then leaving uni at like 20 something years now, that needs to at least give him 50 years of life without work, you know. But a lot of them are doing that, and then they're doing 30, 40 years plus of work, and then they've got 20 years to live.
So basically, our youth have seen that you work consistently, homework. You're on Groundhog Day, as the film states.
Yeah.
And you're doing this until you retire. But we came here with that work ethic.
Yeah.
But it's now our youths, then you're saying, are not interested in that that example. What they're interested in is building on a community level to sustain for the future, so they don't have to wait until 65 in a corporate position that they don't really want to be in.
And I think a lot of them are kind of trying to make that change, but like we're saying, there is nowhere where you've got anything that's established for us. So sometimes they gotta even, because having to feed yourself, they can, and so I do feel it for the youth because a lot of them probably feel like that. But when it comes down to you have to have food on the table, you're gonna have to bite your tongue and just go to McDonald's or wherever it is because there isn't somewhere where you can actually say, you know what, I feel like this, and I'm gonna only work for a black person to better ourselves. There's not even enough black businesses out there for the youth to even say, look, I'm gonna go here. For example, like the Turkish shops where I'm from now, it's not a bad thing. I would probably do the same, but they don't employ anything but their own, and it's not a bad thing. But it then gives their youth a different option. Whereas with the black youth now, they can't go to nowhere to say, you know what, I'm not even gonna do the street stuff. I'm just gonna go work for my uncle's friend, or there's none of that. There's nothing. No.
So what it is about the ones who are in the position, financial position, to actually create sustainable platforms for the youth then to be employed within, to learn the skills, and then, because I think it seems like they're willing to learn the skills, but we need to provide that basis for them.
Yeah, and it's where it goes. I think we need to have a pot where you make a pound and it stays with us, because like a lot of cultures do, and there's nothing wrong with it because it allows your culture to prosper. Do you know what I mean? So like I think there's a statement that says that Jews will probably spend their money 9 times between them before it goes outside of their community, and it's like we don't even have a situation where it goes through us once.
No,
do you know what I mean? So it's literally kind of like breaking that more. So and before I would more be inclined to even maybe take it back to Africa, but even in the extent of even keeping it in England, if you have it where the same pot, it stays in the same pot. People benefit, and you're talking about something that grows, and with something that grows, it doesn't decline. And if you just took in 10 years from now, 20 years from now, that same thing, that same growth, do you know what I mean? It does grow into something.
Because Mecca wasn't built in a day, and it takes
no
slow
way.
consolidation.
And
then you move forward, most definitely. And I guess it's really for us to start to come together. We've talked many times about creating spaces, because we've got lots of businesses that have got back rooms or halls that we can actually rent out, to have people who are willing to volunteer their time to do workshops, to teach the youth a skill. And then those youth that you've taught a skill to, why can't you go together and set up shop somewhere?
Because you're going to teach them skills that they're going to go use for somewhere else, and then and it doesn't really benefit them. And while I was at uni, one of my topics was to research why blacks the most unemployed, and even through my research I even found, and it's facts, because I've done the research, that even a black person with the same degree in the top paid job, they paid them less, and that does trickle down into how much money he can then invest into his family, into their children's education, and even though it's just a little bit less and he's still getting more than, when you're comparing it to the others now, that they're able to excel a bit more, and then they've got a pot where when they do excel and make that more money, it stays with them, whereas that one that did break out and make more is still getting paid less, and he hasn't got nothing to kind of to invest back in himself, because he's still going to invest in his children to go even private school, but then where do they work, and then where does their money go? So it's
about creating sustainable jobs and businesses. I mean, when our early elders, the first settlers did come, they did produce businesses. They were landlords and everything, but that's because, in part, the conditions, what was happening within the UK, forced them into those situations. And then over time, lots of things were taken away, or they lost businesses and things like that. And that's why we don't have those now to show. But it can be done again, because I think as a people, we're very creative, we're very industrious as a people.
Most definitely. But we are, and I think a lot of us, we don't have a lot of self-pride, because we are one of the most creative, do you know what I mean? And that's not something, that's not an understatement. No. And I think you got to kind of know who you are and how much influence you even have on this world on a global scale, and to know that a lot of things have been taken from us. Even if you was to go into certain cultures, a lot of their cultures have started from them being taught by blacks. So a lot of the stuff is originally ours, and that's what I mean. We're not getting no recommendation or nothing from it.
Yeah, true. But I also think that it doesn't matter if they've taken those things now, because we have the ability and we surpass the capacity to create new things.
I agree. I definitely agree with that, and I think it's just that when we was creating magnificent things like pyramids, we was unified. and until that happens, and that's why since then you still haven't seen another pyramid, because since then black people still haven't been unified.
I'm glad you've come to that point, because it's, for me, it's not just unification, it's actually the fact that we've lost our spiritual foundation.
And with like any foundation, once your foundation goes, anything built on top is coming down. And
that's what we've seen over the years.
Like everything is just more spiritual. It's 90% spiritual, and everything we're seeing is 10% physical. So it's like, if we've lost that 90% of ourselves, do you know what I mean? But we are completely lost, and a lot of things are to blame, like down to religion, the education system. And that's what I mean. A lot of us are taking on, even though we've left other cultures with stuff, we've then adopted it like they're the originators, and we're taking their doctrine from it. Whereas when you know that you was the originator now, it does make a big difference, I believe.
Yeah, because it seems as though what we've done as a people is, yes, we were forcibly had our spirituality removed, or perhaps it started why we got ourselves into this position in the first place. We lost where we were spiritually, and in that losing of who we are, we've replaced. So say you had a cup that was full of something, we've taken out what it was filled with and packed it in with all these distractions. And these distractions are not really where we ought to be.
Because I think I think I'm sorry to cut you. Like,
no. Go on.
I think a lot of people, like, they don't know that you can actually live an illusion. So an example would be going to McDonald's and buying food. There was nothing in that place that your body needed. So when you've walked in there and bought food, now you actually committed an illusion, because you still haven't actually got fed. So a lot of black people are actually living illusions, and they're not aware that you can physically live one. They think it's only an optical illusion on a piece of paper, not knowing that you can literally live in the complete wrong way. And that's because we're not spiritually connected no more. We feel that we could eat a burger or something that costs £2, because we're forgetting that nature provides food for free, and with the spirituality of nature. But we do have to remember that that black people weren't allowed to be spiritual at certain points, and black people were killed for being spiritual, whereas we are free now to kind of be spiritual. Like, you don't have to be religious now, where there was times where you would have to be.
Well, spirituality really is connecting with the source.
And that's exactly my point. If you said you was a sorcerer or something back in the day, you go to the when they tell you the story about burning witches and stuff like that, that was really black people that was not trying to conform to religious things, physical religion, and were still trying to keep up their spirituality, and the result of that was more time death, and a lot of black people, to safeguard their children. That's what I mean with maybe asking the elders would be a bad thing. A lot of parents, to safeguard their children, were told them just be Christian or just be this religion, because it's not worth you being spiritual, because they're going to lose them.
It's the same as what happened in many areas within when they had the Islamic or the Muslim or the Arabic war on Africa, and where you had many many people converted their children into Islam in order to stop them being enslaved. But we've paid very high prices for these things. Yes, we've ensured our survival, but what we haven't done is reconnected with us, because spiritual survival is key.
No, that is key. That's what makes us who we are. Is not the physical. When you're seeing all these types of music and all our creations from our creativity, that is definitely a spiritual, because everyone's coming with their own angle. So it's something more than you can physically see, I believe.
Exactly. But I think that you can tell when somebody's spiritual. What you talked about, music, and I think music can be quite influential to your energy fields.
Oh, most definitely.
And I think we also have to be careful of what we tune into within sound. Because that it's not as you know, it's not just going through one ear and out the other. It's penetrating to your subconscious, making a stamp. And you know, we used to have this thing: hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil, as it were. And I think that has quite a lot of true sentiments within that statement.
No, most difficult. Everyone now is just seeing, hearing, and everything that we're dealing with now more time is evil. And it's like you're saying with the sound and the music. they've done experiments with playing different frequencies and the state of water, or even putting salt on a speaker and it changing different shapes based on the frequency. And knowing that your body is 75% water, knowing that sound alters the state of the water, we are being that has a big play. But then also with the music, everyone, you can see that we're spiritual because your soul has always been living in the essence that every person can come with their own sound, and it's like your sound is your message in the essence, and that's why music is a good thing where you can kind of express your energy, express your sound. Because someone like Tupac, for example, that's his energy transferred, and your music always outlives you. So it is a powerful thing.
That's exactly it. That's I'm just going to repeat that point. The energy of the individual producing the music actually is embedded in the sound. So whatever their vibration or frequency is at that moment in time, or where they are within their journey, if they're on one, that gets embedded into the sound. And that's why some music is jarring, because of where the energy field is of that person. Because
you can even see the transition through artists from when they begin and from when, and like for me, for example, sometimes I listen to music like underground, and then once they come commercial, I don't like it. And it's simply because that rawness, that realness, that was who they really were. And when they try to do it commercial now, you kind of take away that essence. And then when you look back at an artist, you never look back for how much money did that artist make while he was producing music. You look back to like Bob Marley and his Tupac as to what were they saying, and you still play their music, so your music will even outlive you when the message is because we got a good message in there. And I don't think none of the music that, especially with the use of making now, when it comes to like the drugs and the killing, that music won't last long, because that is the energy transfer, and a lot of people are not trying to indulge in that energy, but we can see in the other end where the use indulging in the energy and the outcome. And I think that was maybe not a technique, but when I was growing up, that kind of music wasn't commercial. Whereas now, as we just said, that how much influence music does have, you can kind of see the agenda when they're kind of allowing that to be commercialized, when you could commercialize a lot of conscious music, because there's a lot of conscious artists, but so...
That's fantastic. Thank you. We're actually going to play a track now, and it's by Perfect Gideon featuring Teacher Dre. It's called Teacher Dre, and it is called Positive Energy.
Yeah, man, go on whistle and wait. Yeah. Rasta man, be patient and keep the faith, you know. Good morning! La 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 la. See la 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 la. Sing out, teacher. See la 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 la. See la 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 la. What is good about this? Tell I, reveal these positive energies to Rastafari, Rastafari. What is good about this? Tell I, reveal these positive energies to Rastafari, Rastafari. Yes, reveal it to I, because I know when we arise on the righteous road, some no love the blessing we get in the places we step in, so negative I try control, but Jaja just show I the lesson to learn from all them negative things that them can't control. I no concern, cut off all of them links, cut them off cause we know them no real. The stake underneath the grass we conceal, none of them can stop perfect in the morning meal. We still a see I sign and see what is good about this. Tell I, reveal these positive energies to Rastafari, Rastafari. What is good about this? Tell I, reveal these positive energies to Rastafari, Rastafari. But me say something I go on, me feel it in my spirit. Life is a joy, so keep it. Be a gonna wonder the whole of them could believe it. Things will reveal it. Blessings are fall like rain, bossy rooftop or wet up ceiling. Blind to you, haters, Rastafari, so I feel it. What is good about this? Tell I, reveal these positive energies to Rastafari, Rastafari. What is good about this?
to serve and keep the faith. Chant na ya bingi, brother patiently wait. In the jungle there's a snake, but the Lion of Judah will always prevail. Set your foundation good, more more nail. Build it from the ground up and watch that seal. And say la 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 la. See la 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 la. All it takes. See la 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 la. See la 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 la. Question. What is good about this? Tell I. Reveal these positive energies to Rastafari. What is good about this? Tell I. Reveal these positive energies to Rastafari. What is good? What's good? Reveals right in front of you. What is good? Tell me what's good. Revealing right in front of you. What is good about this? Tell I. Reveal these positive energies to Rastafari. What is good about this? Tell I. Reveal these positive energies to Rastafari. See la 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 la. See la 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 la. See la 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 la. See la 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 la.
Clean reggae music, that time when they want to. Clean reggae music, that time when they need for me. No clean reggae music, that time when they want to. We make the people them a jump and prance. I even no slungness, no nonsense, no gun lyrics, no filthiness. North and south and the east and the west. Clean reggae music, them a feel request. Reggae music in the foot and reggae music in the chest. Reggae music in the heart, it and the mess. The ass man, me a fake confess. They send the music in a holy promise. So listen to the drum and when you listen to the bass, get them sit up and rock and make way nice up the place. Listen to the drum, me when you listen to the bass, get up, sit up and rock, me when we nice on the place. Feel the vibes in on the dance all night. All nations with the black or white. Music feel good, you know it's alright. People are rock, the ass man, me the band the mic. Clean reggae music, that time when they want. Clean reggae music, that time when they need for me. No clean reggae music, that time when they want. We make the people them a jump and prance. I even know clean reggae music, that time when they want. Clean reggae music, that time when they need for me. No clean reggae music, that time when they want. We make the people them a jump and prance. Me love the band, yes me love the band. Yes me love the reggae music, band. Yes me love the band, yes me love the band. Yes me love the band. Me love the Mother Silver and me love the Mother Gold. Love the Mother reggae and the one round roll. Reggae music we get under control. Like you in the park, you the girl, you a stroller. Rasta know some me love it to the max. That's when the ass man, the microphone attack. Say roots and counter, the pan tamper. You do this like this, we get up. That's what me say. And clean reggae music, that time when they want. Clean reggae music, that time when they need for me. No sweet reggae music, that time when they want. But I make the people them a jump and prance. Follow me. Clean reggae music, that time when they want. Clean reggae music, that time when they need to get clean reggae music, that time when they want. But I make the people them a jump and prance. No slungness, no nastiness, no gun lyrics, no filthiness. North and south and the east and the west. Clean reggae music, them a feel request. Reggae music in your foot and reggae music in the chest. Reggae music in the heart. say. And clean reggae music, that time when they want to. Clean reggae music, that time when they need to get clean reggae music, that time when they want to. But I make the people them a jump and dance. Clean reggae music, that time when they want to. Clean reggae music, that time when they need to get clean reggae music, that time when they want to. They make the people them a hear. You better listen to the drum, you better listen to the bass. Get them sit down and rock and make way. Nice out the place in them. Listen to the young man while you listen to the bass. Get them sit down and rock and make way. Nice out the place. Get them sit down and rock with the one. Didn't get them sit down and move with the one. You get up and rock and get the bass gang. You get better move the one. You get them sit down and rock the one. You get them sit down and move. Every massive. What me say?
That was Horseman in clean reggae music. We're going to play Brother Culture, and the track is called Life.
Now we choose life. For life can be precious and beautiful. Life can be wonderful substance, so we must spread amongst one another, you know. Let me tell it. Life, 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 that's how we choose. Life, 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 never to refuse. Life, 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 keep it flowing. Life, 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 following the King. Life, 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 that's how we choose. Life, 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 never to refuse. Life, 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 keep it flowing. Life, 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 following the King. So open up the door and let the living come in. Cause in a me bend, me say the blood is flowing. Cause life is a action a key. In determination of who you may be. Life can be curious, life can be fun. But me no live my life at the end of a gun. I have a lot of lyric and I have it lump sum. I man is willing to share with everyone. Them a Martins cannot come in simple Simon. But I man, me come be eradicate the demon. So follow up my style and follow up my pattern. Cause anytime it comes, say the vibe don't ration. Life, 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 that's how we me choose. Life, 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 never to refuse. Life, 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 keep it flowing. Life, 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 following the King. Life, 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 that's how we me choose. Life, 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 never to refuse. Life, 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 keep it flowing. Life, 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 following the King. You love it, dwell up in the mountain when the sun is shining. Meditate upon life and keep discipline. Say open up your heart and let the good vibe come in. Your prayers up Jah and start the healing. Move away from the gunman thing. Move away from the drugs and killing. We love life and we love discipline. It's proper culture with the conscious thing. Life, 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 that's how we choose. Life, 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 never to refuse. Life, 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 keep it flowing. Life, 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 following the King. Life, 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 that's how we choose. Life, 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 never to refuse. Life, 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 keep it flowing. Life, 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 following the King. Give me the life every time. Give me the high grade and give me the good vibes. Give me the health, give me the strength, give me the teaching. Don't bother come with no false preaching. Suicide is not a good thing. Life is good and worth preserving. Keep it up, don't put it down. Live life to the fullness, travel all around. Life is full of happiness, but it must be found. Just like a seed that you plant in the ground. This is brother culture on the damn microphone. Anytime it come. When we say life, 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 that's how we may choose. Life, 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 never to refuse. Life, 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 keep it flowing. Life, 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 following the King. When we say life, 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 that's how we may choose. Life, 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 never to refuse. Life, 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 keep it flowing. Life, 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 life.
Conquering records. My enemies ready.
Wake it down, you tell people. Oh, please, my God. Oh, Jah. Rastafari. Hey, them to rise and the enemy them scatter. Just like the wax them up, go melt up in the fire. For all the wickedness, when them heart take desire. Hey, them a rape, them a thief, them a liar. Hey, them to rise and the enemy them scatter. Just like the wax them up, go melt up in the fire. For all the wickedness, when them heart take desire. Hey, them a rape, them a thief, them a liar. Burning it, burning. Hey, Babylon, this is a warning. Don't grow and flourish. The one the kind of violence show you must cherish. That's why me sing that one now sweet like berries. Babylon, why you do that? You should do me that. Hey, you set up be an evil trap. Hey, them why you do that? You should do me that. The fire I go burn red hot. Me serve them to rise and the enemy them scatter. Just like the wax them I go melt up in the fire. For all the wickedness when them heart it desire. Hey, them a rape, them a thief, them a liar. Oh, them a liar. Yes, them a liar. Slow Saul and Goliath in the back. Really the Israelite out of the chain and the shackles. Anything you want, shall we make it happen? Down in a Babylon, them they stink and a rotten. Babylon, why you do that? You should do me that.
So that was a bit of spectacular Jarais for you. We're back here with JD in the studio. For those of you who've just joined us, we've got JD in the studio. We're here with us tonight, who is from Youth Culture, and is representing and vocalizing some of the attributes of our youth culture, where they're at within their headspaces and what they really want to see within the community and within our interaction with elders. JD, tell us some more. Tell us some more about the things that we were just talking about. That we really want to see more unity.
Yeah, I think we left off on the music, and I would say with the music is one of the biggest influences, and it is one of the main things that kind of direct people into like doing what they do. So yeah, if you look at rock music, you see a whole group of people start dressing like ghosts. So I'm just saying it as an example of the impact that music does have. So I think that we have kind of created a lot of genres that are even destructive. Not destructive, but the essence was, I think, originally pure, where you had youth actually talking about where they're coming from, so the streets and stuff. But I think when they was doing it that way and it wasn't commercialized, it was them expressing their pain. Whereas now with it being commercialized, it's a way for youth to get their foot on the ladder. So they would maybe want to sell drugs now or do street activities to be able to make music about it, to get that platform. And I think that if you kind of make the music be like have conscious music, I think it does two things. It does allow the youth to kind of research about stuff, because you can't be conscious and just lie, whereas anyone can just say anything that's gangster, do you know what I mean? And then it also allows them to have like a platform and a way of life of being conscious and then being able to articulate yourself through the music. And so a lot of the youth now, they're going to want to be trap rappers, what we would call it now, or gangster rappers, what you might know it as. And I'm literally, not even in a bad way, but it is a way that it's celebritized now, where I don't blame them in the essence, where if they're thinking that they can rap about it and then get like a record deal, make big money, come out of it, they're going to do one or two things, lie about being in it and get what comes with it, or actually get involved in it and maybe not even make it to that.
Well, I'm glad you've raised that point about getting themselves into what. Now, there are certain visual expressions being expressed within the music outside of certain languages or sentiments that are being said that don't actually coincide with an impressionable mind. Yeah. So some of the sentiments that are being said are actually derogatory to the youth.
Most
themselves.
definitely.
But we see it also translating visually. So we see some, trousers hanging down, and you see kind of subtle nods to LGBT going on within those.
Yeah, I'd agree that they're definitely coming with certain, and I think the biggest reason why I would say I dislike it is because we've got a lot of women looking for masculine figures, and when you've got masculine celebrities looking feminine, you kind of like, and then that's kind of what all the girls go for. You kind of eliminated that masculinity, that masculine figure, and even down to like a lot of the youth not really even understanding where the chances like come from, and to be fair on them, they do kind of wear that amongst their peers. But if they was to go certain places, then I think
dress appropriate.
That because if they knew but that having their chances like that and was to go certain places that they would get approached in that manner, they wouldn't. So they are doing certain things without even knowing the back end knowledge of that style. And with the media being able to promote it, like it's a lot easier to say something derogatory or to do something derogatory through music. Like you have people say that they will slap a woman or do this stuff, but to say that through normal conversation, you just can't say some of those things. So it is kind of paving the way to allow some things through that you wouldn't on a normal basis. Yeah.
Because there's also things like some of the hairstyles in some of the musicians, their stylists are dressing them with, I don't know how much control they have over their own individual looks, but some of the stylists are really effeminizing the male. So you have somebody who looks like they go to the gym every day, and whether they're male or female, and the males are being effeminate. So you're pumped up, and yet you've got the hairstyle of a female.
Yeah, and it's like Marcus Garvey said that you're only going to be, or maybe not Marcus Garvey, but there is a quote that says that the race is only going to be or only going to get as far as where they place their woman. And what's happening now is that you've taken away the masculine figure for the women to then chase like a feminized figure, and it's kind of lowering like her state of what she's really looking for. So she's not really looking for a guy like maybe in his natural that's gonna be that way inclined. She's gonna be looking for that, and we are coming into a day and age where there is areas where guys would wear makeup as well now, and I think it's like. I think it does have a negative effect, as the woman does need a masculine figure to look at, and so do we. In the essence, as a masculine, a male needs to see feminized, but only through women, because I think it has kind of paved the way for transgenders in the essence. Not to take nothing away, but I think a lot of like my age now will be happy with weave and fake like assets.
Man weaves and all
but
women weaves.
And the transgender could actually wear the same thing with like fake breasts and fake hair and stuff like that. So I think it is a bit dangerous getting attracted to that, whereas it's not, because it's not natural. It's not coming from a
holistic perspective.
Yeah, it's like,
I mean, I don't think anyone has the right to tell somebody else what they want to do. It's a live and let live situation. Errol Dunkley sang, "Every moment does his thing a little way different," and that's very true about our society that we live in, especially as we are not on our own home turf. We are, seeing how we've had an apology. For many years, we've not been very welcome in this environment. So now, having this definition being pushed onto youth culture, do you feel that some of our youth are going into misdemeanors to kind of prove their masculinity in the face of this effeminate male?
Yeah, most definite, because I think as the youth, they always go with with the times. And because a lot of us have had control of the times now, the youth don't feel no way. They don't even know that they're going feminized, because because if you're not understanding that, just look now, you're just not in with the times. And it's like, I came up like that, but it wasn't feminized into what we was into. We were still kind of into like baggy clothing and stuff like that. So it does have a big effect, because it does tend to go to what does this lead to next kind of thing, because you never really had the situation where like a young thug that's brand new, and like you said, every man to do what their man wants to do, but it's like if that is now acceptable, what happens 10 years down the line? Does like, are you meant to then wear a dress and stuff like that? And do you know what I mean? So I just think where this stuff is leading to more than what it is at the moment. It's just that where does this lead to?
So where does it lead to? Because we just had on the 18th of April. I think it was a Thursday, we had a newspaper report stating that the Theresa May had actually gone to the Commonwealth. She started with Nigeria and all the other countries of the Commonwealth, and stated that we had to change the law on same-sex marriages and things like this. So how would that affect the, because in one hand we have the whole Windrush shameless scandal, and at the same time you're apologizing, and at the same time you're then dictating yet again what we should do.
Yeah, I think it's a, yeah. I hope they did. I wasn't aware of that, and I hope they don't go that way because I think one of the main reasons, I think a lot of people, what I think, what I feel from just hearing that now is that they wanna make it seem like it's a bad thing to not accept it. The main reason why it was never accepted is literally because if everyone was that way, there'd be no humanity in 100 years. And it's not about what you like or what you want to do. It's like for the sake of survival as a human race, it's the only thing that allows you to. So for what I feel that they're trying to do is trying to impose. They're not coming out with the full truth of it because they're trying to say, yeah, some people can do that, but then you have to acknowledge that if that was the norm and that was the thing, and you have to remember we was coming from a place where that wasn't even allowed as well, and we've had to change that. We're not even really changed that. That had to be forced upon us because in the same breath where they're saying that it's allowed here, you haven't accounted for the people that still didn't like it, and it's not like to say that they were and their opinions not be heard just because you've changed the law now. I think it's for us to kind of see their agenda, but not to get too caught up and to kind of like use it as a sense of urgency in us. Because to be fair, the one thing with the Windrush thing, I think it was a lot of a wake-up call for a lot of black people because a lot of Caribbeans, when they did originally come, they were only planning to stay for 5 years. And the fact that they didn't actually go back and better where they was is the only reason why for us as a race why it's a problem, because if there was actually better enough where they were going, they would have left waving, knowing that, you know what, I've built up something better. But for the fact that they came, got distracted and didn't better back where they didn't better where they were coming from, and that's what I think, that we've got to stop getting too caught up in the distractions of what they're doing, and kind of we're in a place, especially for us, we're in a place where we've got one of the strongest, we've got the strongest commodity in the world. So for us to not be taking it back to the place where money is the least, like Africa or the Caribbean, it's kind of we're us shooting ourselves in our own foot, in the essence that we're getting, even though money is what rules the world, we're not reinvesting that back to where we need it to actually benefit us. So when we are getting sent back there, or when other like countries are trying to dictate what other countries do, it's because they're dealing with a place that no one else ain't investing in. We're here not investing it back over there. The people out there are trying to, but they're then using the lowest, their money hasn't got no weight, kind of thing. So it is kind of like,
who decided that balancing, that seesaw? Who decided that one end of the seesaw on this side of the world would always be sky high and the other one would be touching the ground?
It definitely wasn't us, because it definitely wasn't us. That's for sure, because it comes down to us going back to basic knowledge that what are you getting this money and what are you buying with this money, and when you're using this money, where are you getting these resources from? I think with a lot of us, we actually forgot that nature is the provider, not the bank. Exactly. And once we kind of remember that, you know what, you can actually go to the tree, pick a fruit off, and you won't get no receipt, we'll kind of probably stop striving to just get money and materialistic things, and probably put that money back into nature, as designer clothing and the trainers. And for the guys, or from my point of view, I would say for the guys, we only like what girls like. So if the girls could then like a guy in his natural that doesn't really chase the materialistic things, then neither would the guys. But then when you've got girls now acquiring these designer things and stuff, the guy can't find value in himself, because he might have value in himself, but he can't even get the chance to kind of express that.
So that imbalance, that seesaw needs to be addressed through not just our males, but really targeted through our females, because what that then means is that the emotional, because women are more emotional than males because of the way we're wired up. So that means they're tapping into, as we know, like a lot of this commercial world, especially consumerism within the West. They target women through adverts and a lot of things like that to bring that into their household. So it's equally affecting the youth. It's equally affecting the female
most
adolescents.
Definitely. For me, to be honest, I feel first sorry for the black woman in the essence that her image is not one that's portrayed as beautiful. And it's like, and then again, that same thing I've just said with the guys now, you've then got a guy looking for, guys, we like naturals, hence why we don't wear makeup, because we're just happy as it comes. And what girls, I think, maybe not understood that, we kind of like that in the opposite as well. But we then now have a race that is not happy in their appearance, tries to look like another race, and we tend to like the other race only because they're still in their natural, whereas you got a lot of black girls not comfortable in their natural, and it does then go to psychological, because it's not just their physical appearances, how they think and feel about themselves. And
exactly, it's like the skin bleach. Exactly. I think hair is a massive issue for women.
Most.
They need to be able to be a reflection of you to be able to get what you're talking about.
Yeah, most definitely. I think like and I think there's a lot of miseducation where like even with the word races, like originally the word races just meant, or what it does mean is preserving your race. Simply down to like you not seeing no crows with no magpies. Like you got different species of birds and they don't not mix because they're racist or anti to the other birds. Because you see mixed birds in the same tree. But it's the fact that if you want to preserve your race, you do need to kind of stick with your own. And not to say that you have to, because you don't have to, but for the sake of preserving your own, that was where the whole point of being racist was for the sake that once you stop doing that, there's no way of you preserving. So if the crows went with doves tomorrow,
but
there'd be no more.
this is why we were allowed to integrate for this. We were allowed to integrate. I guess Theresa May has shown that her dislike of being mixed in with people who look like us. And her friend, is it Mary? I think it is, her right-hand lady. I think that if somebody wants to mix, that's fair enough, but ask yourself some serious questions. On a soul level, can that person understand you? On a essence of who you are, will they really be able to comprehend you on those levels?
Yeah, because you got to just kind of take the racist negative demeanor from it. That a lot of people think that it means that you don't like other races, and like I said, you'll still see different birds in the same tree, but it's just about you. Just what I mean, you're trying to just preserve your own, and like you're saying, there's certain connections. Like there's like my way of living or growing up in a household is that way because I grew up in a Caribbean household. So I wouldn't be trying to come here and be an expert of how a Chinese household is run. I would expect the Chinese person to and I wouldn't expect the Chinese woman that's been raised in a Chinese household to understand how my house or how I would like the house to be run based on what I've known. So it's just simple little thing, but you have had great people come out for mixing at the same time. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely, you have, but I think that takes a certain level of strength and self-understanding and a certain spiritual understanding of being connected to the source. Not all mixed relationships have that level of balance because I hear many cries out there.
Most definitely.
I hear a lot of divorce. I'm not saying they don't work. Yes, we get divorce in all communities. However, what we want to see is this positive expression of black love. It's not really seen very often in our community. It's not promoted in media.
It's not. It's like it's not, and that is a shame because that is where we got that's where most of our magic happens. Cause like an example would be when you see a black guy, he could be in the gym, he could be doing whatever he's doing. When a woman comes, she's gonna enhance what he's doing by tenfold. Just, you know what I mean? Just for the sake of the woman's presence being there. So when we did have us with that black love now, it did make us much better people because you're bringing out the better, you're bringing out a lot more from your opposite, and it did allow us to kind of grow and become much more.
Exactly. And I think one of the other things is that we used to have, like, this film, not the only thing, but one of the good things that came out of the Black Panther, even though the storyline did have an end result of brothers fighting and somebody who wasn't part of Wakanda saving the day, as per usual. But one of the good things that came out of it was that expression of unity between males and females.
Okay, do you know, I'll be honest, I didn't watch the film, but I'll take your...
Yeah, so there was that, that definition was put out there, even though quite a lot of the other things were not in harmony with where we're trying to get to.
Yeah, and I think they know the power in that harmony.
Yes.
Why they might have possibly put in the movie.
Yes, yeah. And it is I think when you connect with somebody whose energy fields are compatible, fully compatible to yourself, you are then building a very strong foundation that you both can build on and then become the perfect team.
Yeah, most
When
definitely.
I say perfect, I'm not saying there's perfection on the planet, but an equilibrium and a balance within your own home, within your own relationship. But we're going to go back to play we're going to go back to just drawing back on how youth see this imbalance, or do they see this imbalance? I'm not saying all situations are imbalanced. You can have imbalance within people who come from the same background, but it's just harder work with two people who are coming from north and east, or no, actually, wouldn't it be east and south, east and west?
It would be the same place. I think with the youth, I don't think, especially with London youth, especially, I think they are more likely to be diverse. And I think it does then come from, that's where the parents really need to come involved and kind of allow their children to understand the importance of being with their same race, in the essence that, like, Asian cultures, a lot of other cultures are still, and that's what I mean, it's not, most things are only racist and seemed as negative when black people do it. And that's what I feel like sometimes. It's like, if a black, like, if I said that I don't want no other race but a black girl, I feel like I would be targeted, like, as a racist or as someone that don't like other, but I feel like if a Turkish guy or like another race was to say that Asian, said that he wants to keep it, wants to keep it with his own, it just seemed as like that's just the way they do things. And I think that's the only reason is because they know the power in us actually coming together and unifying, whether that be as black people, whether that be as in a relationship, even if that, do you know what I mean? There is a great power in it, and even down to like the physical body. We are one of the races in the best physical body up to date. Do you know what I mean? And when you're combining the two best bodies, you're gonna get it even better. So it's like, especially when we're in a society that's where the blacks are being attacked through food and water and diet. Now you do wanna make sure that physical body, because we are our soul, but you are gonna wanna make sure that the physical vessel that you're allowing these reincarnations to come in are just a bit stronger when you know that you're bringing them into an environment that is poisoned, from chemtrails to food to water to media. So you do want to kind of, like, you don't, like, it's for example, you want to be, if you're going through the rainforest, you're going to want to be in a Land Rover, not on in a Polo. Do you know what I mean? And it's literally like, we're the same as spiritual people, that we're creating new physical vessels, and you're going to rather it be stronger, knowing that the terrain that we're going to have to go through, the battle that we're facing, especially nowadays.
Exactly, because in the wake of all this GMO, but again, if we are spiritually aligned, it goes back to everything goes back to the same point. If we are spiritually aligned, we get ourselves reconnected to the source. So, for example, if you will have the right partner sent to you.
I think
because you will be connected, so you can draw upon that and say you will get that person who is the right person. The things that you want to manifest in your life, once you're connected to source, you can manifest them.
And most definitely, I think a lot of people, as black people, you need to do your natal charts, like get into astrology, in the essence that opposites tend to bounce, and you can kind of find out so your opposite. So whereas I'm a Cancer, my opposite is Capricorn. So whereas tend to be a more emotional, not me, but because we are confused, I tend to be a more emotional state. A Capricorn is more logic and kind of get things done. So whereas that's where you can kind of see where opposites, where that Capricorn will make me a bit more assertive in the places where I would need to be, and I'll be able to calm down a Capricorn and show them how to be a bit more emotional. And what we do have to also remember is that we're not stuck or bound by it. So sometimes you even get into certain, you got soul partners and you have soul mates, and sometimes you got to go through partners to even build yourself up to a frequency that you can even meet back your soulmate. Because you have to remember, as your reincarnation, you're kind of starting again, and there's certain parts where you need to like fix on yourself, with it be being more emotional, more assertive in places and stuff like that. And that is where we're literally using and bouncing off each other's energy to literally give what we can't get from our own energy from the other, and not to feel like you're bound by like a ring or marriage where you're stuck by. But once you know, as both soul beings, that you're both elevated, you should be even comfortable and able to kind of go and do the same process again and elevate even more until you do decide to leave this physical reincarnation.
Well, what you've said is exactly what we should be doing. And I think one thing that's changed within our nation, due to the historical context that's very alive and kicking and evident, brought back to the forum the other day, is that from we were children, when we were before we were rearranged.
Yeah.
When we were children, we were being taught the things that you've just talked about, like our astrology, our understanding of science, our philosophies, our own concepts, our understanding of how you connect to the source and so on, having reverence for our ancestors and these sorts of things. We would have been taught this the same way children get taught this at primary school.
Oh, most definite. By 7 years old, you would have been an adult back in the day, in the essence that it would, because what we do with children is that we kind of felt like they're limited, that their brain got the capability to learn as fast as you want to teach.
And that's the time when they're the biggest. They are sponges at this time. They
Literally.
absorb everything.
Yeah, literally, and it's literally what you kind of put in play there. And it's like, don't underestimate the youth. That the youth can understand. If the youth can count, if the youth is awake and breathing, that is enough. Do you know what I mean? Because and it's then, and I think of a lot of parents, they're just too reliable on the system to teach their children, and then upset with the end product when you didn't put nothing into the child to grow, to allow it to grow. Like I'm lucky I was able to find myself, but no one actually gave me the information or came or showed me a way or gave me an alternative to become like this, because everything would have kept me the way that I was going. So with a lot of the youth, it's like literally, if they was to learn that from being youths, they literally know which way to go, because like astrology is something where they allow you to, they go as far and tell you your sun sign, but they don't actually allow you to elaborate and let you know that every planet has a different form of energy, and you can literally like literally know what way to go and do what you need to do. So
that's very true. And so now, knowing that spirituality is something that we need to realign ourselves with, because isn't that Christ consciousness, really?
Yeah, most definitely. Like the other day, it was so funny to me because I had a revelation, and it was like on Good Friday when they said that they were celebrating the death of Christ. It came to me that you have black people following a ritual celebrating the death of their Christ consciousness, and that's what that ritual, well, to me, that's what I felt like, because as you're saying, with that Christ consciousness now, when they're marking that the day that Christ has died, it's kind of like us, we were celebrating that you're celebrating your loss of your Christ consciousness, because if you was conscious, you wouldn't even believe in the Jesus. Do you know what I mean? To that level.
There's a lot of things, a symbolism.
All of it's symbolism, to be real.
You know. So within this framework of a lot of these ideologies that were put down in order to give us guiding tools to know how to navigate through life, I think what we've done within the Roman context is taken those concepts and made it into we've pigeonholed it, put it in a box, packaged it, and said this, and regurgitated it and said this is how religion is, this religion, this religion, and this religion, when really what they're saying Jesus is talking about is this Christ consciousness.
You in your highest in your higher self.
Yes, say that again.
Us in our higher self.
Yes, that's exactly the point. Getting back to our higher selves and reconnecting with this. And I'm going to play you a track now, and it's by. And it's called Born Ready, and it's by Jalifa. Because I think that's what the youth are actually saying today, that they are born ready. They're ready to start moving forward and creating a new dialogue for the generations to come.
Triumphant victory, I countless time them a try to this the IRASTA. I organize still them can't prevail for I and I. Rastafari, Jalifa I say, my youth it could have rain or sun if I am on my born ready, smile, me no laugher. Full suit a cocky on me feet, Bobo Sanda. Bobo Shanty broom, done ready for the chaff, yeah. Chat now ya bingy word sound and lava. Foundation, don't set nothing after. So me nah go join politician and Carter. Rastafari the highest of order. So me nah go ponder fi put it on paper to say my youth it coulda rain or sunny and me Elborn ready.
And we're gonna rewind on that one. It's a
Rastafari for the I and I. Triumph and victory for I. Countless time them a try to this the RADIA. For and I still them can't prevail for I and I. Rastafari. Charlie for I say my youth it coulda rain or sunny fire, mama born ready. My youth it coulda rain or sunny fire, mama born ready. Pon me face, none smile, me no laugher. Full suit a cocky on me feet, Bobo Sanda. Bobo Shanty broom, done ready for the chaff, yeah. Chant now ya bingy word sound and lava. Foundation, don't set nothing after. So me nah go join politician and Carter. Rastafari the highest of order. So me nah go ponder fi put it on paper to say my youth it coulda rain or sunny and me Elborn ready. My youth it coulda rain or sunny then. Oh, I see them when them cheat. I don't listen whenever they speak. Cause them hearted full of deceit. Righteousness be put on a beat. Like a bingy drum me beat. Like John bless them whenever we cheat. Let's take a second to receive. Every service and every retreat. Uptown, downtown and every border. And stop sell your children like lamb to the slaughter. Rastafari is more than a brother. Fathers, teach it to your sons, mothers, your daughter to say my youth it coulda rain or sunny fire, mama born ready. My youth it coulda rain or sunny then. I countless time them a try for this the RADIA. For and I still them can't prevail when I and I. Rastafari. Charlie for I say.
Yeah, man, we say give thanks, but give them thanks like Tingwell, you know. From the east.
This is Archangel, Make We Build. This is something that the youths are saying to us now. Make We Build.
Build up some vibes. Time for some vibes. Rastafari, vibes are the times now. I Selassie, I divine. Yeah. Come make me build up some vibes. Oh. Time for some vibes. Say Rastafari, vibes are these times. Oh. I Selassie, I divine. Yeah. I see so much frustration. My people in a state of confusion. Television, satellite communication, cellular, biological diffusion, culturally round the Rastaman vibration. I the vibes for the time, yeah. I Selassie, I divine, boy. Come back, we build up some vibes now. I said time for some vibes. Rastafari, are the vibes for them times, yeah. I Selassie, I divine, boy. Tell me why man fighting with mankind, yeah. Tell me why they make them love and so hard to find. Rastafari, Queen Omega divine, yeah. Tell me why are the women and the man coming down the line? King of kings, Lord of lords, and I see is divine. Alpha and Omega, balance your behavior. Bring forth the inner manner, another Rastafari, oh Lord, yeah. Come make we build up some vibes.
Music is a strength to I and I, so I and I
kinetic, parasympathetic, photokinetic, yeah. 9 is consciousness, cleanliness, godliness, royalness, happiness, I digress, yeah. 3, 6 and 9, 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 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 3, 6 and 9, 3, 6 and 9, the key to the universe. 3, 6 and 9, 3, 6 and 9, 3, 6 and 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 3 is the number of Jah, 6 is the number of man, 3 and 6 is 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, Jah and man is 9, omnipotent one is 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 3, 6 and 9, 3, 6 and 9, the key to the universe. 3, 6 and 9, 3, 6 and 9, 3, 6 and 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 3, 6 and 9, 3, 6 and 9, the key to the universe. 3, 6 and 9, 3, 6 and 9, 3, 6 and 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9.
So that was Vicar Almlac meets King Alpha, and it was called Key to the Universe. So JD and I are back after a little music break there, and we'll continue with our reasoning. For those of you who've just joined us, we've covered quite a scope of topics here.
Yeah, we've got quite a few.
Yeah, we were touching on like how, from JD's perspective as a youth, somebody who's part of youth culture, what the experience was in the UK and how the dialogue is happening with the rest of the community and how it's happening amongst each other. And we've realised it really is quite regional. So if you're born in the south of the UK, that dialogue with your society is very global. Compared to when you're outside of the UK, you have a very different interaction, with main society at large. And we also looked at we're going to delve deeper into what youths actually want from the elders, and what do you want to see the elders doing so that we can actually start to put certain things in place that we can manifest and bridge the gap between those needs that clearly need to be met. But what are those needs?
I believe our needs, because we're in a system that's dealing with money. So even though we know nature provides everything for free, right now me thinking that's not gonna allow me to eat. Do you know what I mean? So it's gonna be financial first. And I think that as the youth, or what I would look for an elder is what you would look in anyone that's older than you. This should be more guidance. I don't think we're in a situation where we even need help. But there's certain things like guidance where I feel like a few elders, because they've lived live longer. If I was walking down the road and you've walked down that road 10 times, you're better off telling me how to walk down that road. Do you know what I mean? So, but because we are doing something new, I think it's that like breaking that bridging that gap of there even being elders and youth, like because we're coming from a generation where we used to live to 120 as a minimum. So I would have been able to speak to like my great granddad for for information. So when we're talking about elders and youth, we're talking about people in the same age bracket, to be fair, because you're now basing it on a time scale of like 0 to 80 or 90.
Yeah, so that's because, like, I guess with the opening of information and then also our youths having children, it's not that that's never happened before, but we do have a lot of children raising children within this generation. Yeah, and I think that's okay if that child having a child knows what's going on. Yeah. So, and like we were saying earlier, there's no age limit on knowledge or wisdom. No, because I believe in both departments there are going to be some elders that are a lot wiser than youth, and there's going to be a lot of youth that are a lot wiser than the elders. And once we do come together, that's what I mean. Like, two heads are always better than one. Yeah. And whether that's older or younger, it's just that literally coming together. It's just being unified, and unified in the essence that they're just coming together to make a change, regardless of in the moment, regardless of their religion, regardless of their faith, beliefs, financial situation, because we all are in the same situation of being blacks and being deprived. So so in the here and now though, so what can we as elders do to bridge that gap with the youth and actually be able to have that exchange? And what I'm asking is, what can the elders actually do to help this situation? What can we put in actual place, those that are in positions to put things in place? What is it that the youth actually want? Because very often the elders will make something and the youth might not want that. So from your understanding, from you coming from youth culture, what is that conversation that the youth want to have with elders? Like, I think a lot of the elders, they're scared. Like, we actually made territories that the elders are scared to come to. So it's not hidden knowledge of where the gangs hang out. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's not hidden knowledge. And I think it's a lot of being afraid, thinking that if they go there to speak with these youths that've got hoods on and that are in this corner, that they're gonna just jump them or rob them. Like, and when I go to my area, I speak like this loud, and this is how we speak. And you'd be so surprised that not even black people, random people will come past interested in our conversation. I'm surprised we're having that conversation, because they would have thought it would have been about drugs or something. But to know that it's about an intellectual, something about us bettering ourselves, they get involved. I've had a white guy come and give his information on affirmations that will better yourself, and that's him just putting his 2 pence in, and that's then led from the younger generation, like the younger lot that was around me, taking to him what he said. But if he walked past and heard us talking about drugs, he would not have shared that information. So you've got a lot of elders that have information, but you're just walking past the youth. So I think you think there's a fear, there's an illusion there, there's a division based on both parties assuming what the other parties see, how they see them. So the elders are seeing themselves as possible victims when they've not been put into a situation of being a victim. They're just paranoid because society has created that. You don't throw caution to the wind. So they've created this image of youth because of the way they're sensationalizing something. And so you don't want to go past a group of 5 youths if you're about, I don't know, in your late 60s, in case they rob you and jump you. But that's not the truth. That is not the truth at all, because no one would do that without me. No 60-year-old woman is going to come and speak with us, and we are not going to do, no way were we going to do that. That wouldn't even cross our minds to do something like that. Do you know what I mean? So for the person to feel or think like that, it's like what you're saying. It's like it's that paranoia and putting their own ideas into their head, which is creating their own gap, because there is no gap. Yeah, absolutely. Because I think that what people need to understand is that groups of youths gathering together does not equate to a gang. No, not at all. So just because you've got, like, say 10 guys or 7 guys or a mixed group of guys and girls and anywhere along your journey, and they might just be reasoning, they might just be friends hanging out. More, 9 times out of 10 they're just friends hanging out. 9 times out of 10. And that's the confusion. People are confusing the friends hanging out, because bonding is a part of development. So these youths are hanging out with their friends, just chilling out. You know, we call it in Trinidad liming. So they're just liming and having a good time, and they are being prejudged for things that they're not doing, because gathering has nothing to do with gangs.
Yeah, and I think with a lot of the elders, I think they like with the youth, it's kind of like, to be fair, as we are spiritual, every time you're gonna get new reincarnations, you're gonna get a different like set of souls coming with different agendas, different soul purposes. A lot of the youth now have come with a warrior spirit in the essence. The reason why they're not standing up for the system is because you needed that essence there, because we needed a shift where you needed a group of people to say, you know what, I'm not going to follow the system. Now, I do agree in a way that they've gone about it by doing the drugs and that it's not the best way about it, but in the same breath, it is the only way that they've had, because the elders, and this is where I feel like the elders could probably get involved, whereas they know that the youth are coming outside to make money, and a youth is not waking up selling these drugs to just be a drug dealer. He's doing it to better that, to eat and to better himself. So the elders, what they could do, what I would say, is stop forcing them into systems like to say get off the streets and just go to school or college or uni, when we know that the elders are the elders are showing us that they've done that and where they are, and they can't really lie to us and say to us, you know what, carry on and get to where we are, because we're not happy with that. So I think with a lot of the elders as well, they're going to have to kind of even bite their own tongue and even realize that what they had done going through school education and whatnot wasn't worth it for us, because what you've done is allowed us to be on the streets doing what we're doing. Because if you had paved the way, and which is what I think now, if you bridge that gap and the youth do is pave a new way, then you won't even we won't even have a conversation of there being two groups of elders and youth doing this and elders doing this. If they both join them together and we pave a new way, and even down to us, our own schools, our own education system, our own health systems, then I think that we won't even have this conversation will never happen again, in the essence of what elders or what youth need to do, or where we need to be going. Because everything, I think we need to be honest and say that anything we were doing prior to this has not worked, and we need to make a new. And there's nothing wrong with new. Sometimes you need to destroy to create.
So basically, we need to create either apprenticeships or things like this for the youth, to actually...
Yeah, I wouldn't mind apprenticeships, but then if this youth gets a plumber apprenticeship, who's going to employ him? Is that going to be a black-owned plumbing business? And that's then again, like I said, it's like there's not that there for them. So the education, to me, is no good for the black youth, because you're only making them, you're not employing them or giving them skill sets to better their people. And then, like I said earlier, even with them having the highest degrees, they're underpaid. It's not something that you talk about your wages. The boss can decide how much he wants to pay you. But in a system that they can tell you that I'm going to give you the minimum for the most priceless thing, which is time. So even though we could train up these people to become what we need them to be, where are they going to use these skills? And there's no establishments for us as people where when I learn these skills, I can use these skills to better my people. I'm going to get these skills and work for someone else and make them more money.
So it really is about creating our own businesses.
Yeah, own everything. Everything.
All levels of our society.
Yeah, everything.
One of the great areas would be, what do we need to manufacture for ourselves? Food. What do we need to grow for ourselves? Clothes. What do you need to...
Like, educate yourself. We need buildings for schools. We need black teachers, you know what I mean? We need black holistic I don't know if
medics.
We need it in all forms, because, not get me wrong, all I would like to see is an alternative, is a place where, as a black person, I can go and get the stuff from someone that's like-minded, that's coming from where I'm coming from. Not to say that I might one day want Chinese and I will go to the Chinese person to make the Chinese because the Chinese does it better. Do you know what I mean? But when it comes to dealing with my education, my healthcare, the clothing that I put on and where my food is coming from, it needs to be coming from my people. So even down to like farming, you've got Africa, and this is where you can also bridge the gap, because they're going through constantly, but we're buying food constantly. But why are we no one buying the food from your people, growing the food constantly? You prefer to go Tesco.
Absolutely. And also we've developed a culture in the Caribbean whereby we no longer farm our own lands and we're selling it off to all these foreigners.
I didn't know that was happening. I would have hoped they was keeping their land.
Yeah, but there's a lot of, like, for example, the airport, one of the airports in Jamaica is owned by the Canadians. The pipe that's now going to be running from North America all the way right down through to Trinidad for the oil is coming from foreigners. There's so many things that have been bought out in Jamaica by foreign investors. And I think there's a lot of area, and not just Jamaica, in other islands as well. We see this this scramble for the tropics, whether it be within the Caribbean region or within the continent itself. And we also went through a process of selling things for chicken feed, like our land for chicken feed to foreigners. Not that having a business investment isn't a good idea, but then build on that. Don't just pocket the money, drink it out, and all this business.
And we also have to remember that us as black people, we allow people from anywhere to come and buy on our land. And in the same breath, you have to remember that you can't go to these other places and buy. Like in England, you're not buying the land, they're not having freehold ownership of the land. If you go to China or Asia, don't quote me, but there's certain Asian countries that if you're not from there, they're not selling you land.
Exactly.
And why?
No, it's true.
And why is it that you can just go to Africa or Caribbean and just buy up the place? And then and that's what I mean. Is like we're coming to the point where we're not gonna have ownership. You're gonna have someone owning so much of your land that you might as well say that they own the country, because you don't even own any part of it now. You can't even grow no food there, and that's when you probably really will see poverty, because there's no poverty in these African and Caribbean countries because they're able to grow food, but it's because they own the land that they own, or they have access to that land. If all that land is sold, then I believe in time we would actually see poverty if they weren't able to go to parts of, because you can't go to any land and just pick off any tree. But if they've got no more land, then where will they eat? And we're here getting pounds, and we're not buying this land. We're spending about £250,000 to get a mortgage and not actually own that piece of land, when 15 grand would buy you like 5 football pitches in Africa.
Exactly. So it's about putting on our slippers in somebody else's house, really. And I think that's what we've done. Even though this is now, you know, Teresa is now saying, oh, you are welcome here, and all this kind of fake, you know, apologies and all this lot. The bottom line is that we have our own home to rebuild, and people are making a rush for our lands while we are distracted here in all of these isms and schisms. Well, and having our focuses moved here and there like we're a tennis ball. When in actual fact, we need to realign ourselves to source and actually start focusing on building, because we have new generations coming. You've got generations after you coming, 3 generations.
And that's what I mean.
So what's going to happen to them? We cannot allow ourselves to assimilate to the point where we don't even know who we are. We end up like a zombie.
Because to be fair, we're in times where like some of my information that I've learned has had to be from other races, in the essence that we're dealing with a race of our people now that like we're saying, they don't know themselves. So we're coming to an extent where if we carry on this way, you're not even going to be able to learn from your own people what you're actually like no more. And that's why we do kind of have a sense of urgency of making sure we're getting this information, retaining it.
It's already started to happen. So we now have Kim Kardashian Kane Row. Really?
And that's what I mean with them. They're not taking our culture, but it's like a black girl had Kane for years and
appropriated our culture.
Because a black girl's had that for years and it wasn't looked at as beautiful. And I guarantee you this, and I guarantee you now that look, because it's going to be more looked upon now because she's highlighted it. And that is for like the males listening, that you do have to embrace the black women when they are coming out in their natural, and vice versa with the women, because everyone's got a sign above their head that says "make me feel special." Do you know what I mean? And it is it is disheartening when you know that this is you in your natural, this is your look, and you are proud of it. But then at the same time, you do need to hear it from someone else at the same time. So if you are listening, definitely let your other half know that they're empress or emperor, king or queen,
or even your sisters, your friends. You know, male presence within the community used to be very high. And we need to see, because men are supposed to be leaders if they are they can lead if they are connected to source and have depolluted their minds as much as possible so that they can actually continue on the focus that's supposed to be happening.
Yeah, because as males, we're protectors. We're protectors and providers, and that's us as a masculine energy, as a force that we give out energy, whereas the woman's the opposite, receives in energy, even down to the sexual organs. You know what I mean? Like, you can see the process of male and female.
Well, I'm actually quite. I actually think differently on that point, on a sexual perspective, because at the end,
Makes sense. So.
Yeah.
Because you're not actually giving the man anything. The man's giving you the process.
It's an exchange, though. It's a spiritual exchange.
Oh, no, most definitely. It's like you can't get a straight line if it has no start or end point. You can't get up without the down, and that is the polarity, is the duality of the two coming together. But it is two opposite forces.
But they've come together to create one.
Yeah, most definitely. But I mean, like, with their force, the masculine force is more the giver, provider to that energy as an outward. And then the woman would be more, not to say she stays at home like that, but I mean at home, nurturing, mothering, retaining the home, whereas the guy will go out to
see, this
provide.
is where we have to be very careful that our understanding of our gender roles are not within a context that is opposite to our Nubian centeredness. Within Nubian culture, equality and balance, i.e. yin and yang, harmony between the two genders, is something that was apparent before they came. Then we got this patriarchal nonsense, which is all to do with pushing certain agendas within their society.
Yeah, and putting a male in front as lead, where we came from a woman as lead.
Yeah, I mean, I actually think that we're supposed to balance each other, so we're supposed to work as teams. This whole concept of one being above the other is not Nubian.
Because like you said, you can't get the up without the down. So we knew that you can't. You need to have the balances, like you're saying. But we was in, when you said patriarchal society, what has happened is that they have put the man as so even when you go down to like religion, as the creator or God, a lot of people, everything is masculine, and that has had a negative effect on us, because we are coming from, like, the person that named Mother Nature was us, as black people, and the reason is because we knew the power in the feminine energy, and that's why we had that. Not to say that it was more than the male, but we knew that she's the life bringer, so we put her up only for the sake that without her then there is no more.
Well, yes, because one of the most expensive commodities it's not commodity, but one of the most expensive things on the planet outside of carbon, aka melanin, is the womb. It is the seat of life. Yeah,
man, you're not coming here, there's no more women. That's the end of reincarnation, and that's why we put her up on the pedestal, knowing her place, because that's what I mean. You can't. There's no human being with no belly button.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, I like that. But it's also the fact that we should be in harmony with each other, because we're not trying to reinvent a dialogue between the genders that we were forced to adopt. Now, we need to get ourselves out of that thinking of he Tarzan, she Jane, so he Tarzan beating his chest going out. But, you know, all these silly things have got nothing to do with the real purpose. Male and female should balance each other out and be in harmony, not one riding on the head of the other one, because then we're just going to end up going back to the same dialogue that we're having now, when we do not move and operate in harmony.
No, it's true, man. You have to be in harmony. You can't be too much of one way. One good saying is humble hand, iron fist, and that's a good way to kind of like explain it in the essence that you cannot have two humble hands, because you would never get anything done, and you couldn't have two iron fists, because you would never be humble or take the chance to actually learn. So you got to have that balance of one hand being humble, one hand being an iron fist, and using it accordingly to get that balance. And even when, like you said, with the yin and yang, if you notice, there's a line in between it, and what that represents is the middle way. And it's like you can't even be positive, you can't even be negative. It is literally finding that middle way. And even us as black people now, it has come to the point where we've got to find that middle way, because we're dealing with lost black people in the essence that some are going to be Christian, Muslim, some are going to be Do you know what I mean? They're going to be coming from
they're
all
getting
walks.
swept away with these distractions.
And it's literally now, not because it's not for us to deem that person's positive, that person's negative. It's literally for us as black people to come together to find the middle way. And then once we've kind of got a way that, regardless of your religion or what it is, we can all agree to the same term, then to kind of distinguish what terms that we're following. But we all need to kind of come to some form of middle way.
Yeah, absolutely. Because harmony is something that we want to see within our community, most definitely. We slightly run over time here. It's
okay.
10 past 10, but we're going to play you a little track here, and it's by Brisbane featuring Prince David, and it's called Rule of Creation and Creation.
It shall be lightning and thunder.
144,000 souls shall stand with the Father and the Son. Jah is the ruler of creation, say, who Jah bless, no man curse. Jah is the leader of one nation, say, sing the offers never been told. Jah is the ruler of creation, say, who Jah bless, no man curse. Jah is the leader of one nation, say, sing the offers never been told.
Yes, I just wanted a quick message so that if anyone wanted to make some, so we got problems and to make the solution, I'm going to leave my contact number. So there is any youth out there, anyone that has any ideas of how we can actually make this change, they can actually contact me. I'll just give out my number. And that is 074 04 266 719, and that's 074 04 266 719, and that will be if anyone's got anything that wants to make this change, they can actually speak with me and we actually could come together and actually come to any elders or any youth that want to make this change and give me a call and we'll make this change.
Fantastic.
So right now you can catch us on Bless FM, and then you can catch us on Bless FM, but you can catch me on Mondays. And yeah, just give me a call and we can go from there, to be honest. Like, I'd rather direct contact and just speak with the person as an individual, so you can bring your ideas and even share. So I think my main message would be to literally kind of wake up the youths, to literally remind us of who we are and where we've come from. And then the goal would be to actually, from us knowing where we are and where we come from and the state that we're in now, is to actually make direction into us going into where we need to go to. So there will be a lot of upset, because a lot of people are gonna have to realize that they have been living certain lies. But I think the main thing is that it won't be you won't be alone in that process by coming together. So my number's been given, we are trying to enlighten, bring back people to who we were, and literally just to get us back to get united. So yeah, I'll give out the number one more time, and please do get in contact. That's 074 04 266 719.
And if you can't get JD on his mobile number, you can actually text into Bless Radio to leave messages for him, and that is on 079 444 313 66. I'll repeat, 079 444 313 66, and please address your message to JD, or to him on WhatsApp. Or you can WhatsApp us. Thank you. I want to just say thank you to all the listeners out there tonight, and I hope you were enlightened and inspired by the message that was brought to us from JD, telling us what's happening on the ground within youth culture and what kind of dialogue they want to be having with the elders. So we've kind of run a little bit over time, 10:27, but it's been a fantastic reasoning. Thank you very much for coming in on the platform.
Thank you so much for having me, man. It's been a pleasure. I've loved the opportunity to be able to express my voice as well, because sometimes you got the same thoughts going through your head, so it's always good to kind of express yourself.
No, thank you, and you're a welcome guest anytime on the Sista Lil show. That's Fridays 8 till 10. You will be hearing JD again in the future.
Most
and
definitely.
He has his own platform coming soon, so do watch that space on a Monday. What time will that slot be?
Yeah, I think, well, at the moment, that's why I did give my number, so we'll kind of build on it. But it will be the Mondays, focused on the Monday. And depending on how much, if a million people phone me today with conscious stuff, then we might have to do the whole week. Do you know what I mean? But it's gonna go accordingly. So if there's only one artist that calls me, we're gonna go accordingly. So hopefully people do support.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for listening in tonight, and give thanks for the Bless Radio and Bless Management for providing this platform. And the Most High always can never be left out. We always have to give thanks and praise for, you know, the liberty that we do have, and for us being able to have that energy of life running through us from the Most High. Give thanks for that. We're going to leave with a track by Sister Beloved, and it's called The Eye of the Storm, because I think that's what we're in today. We're in the eye of the storm. We're trying to come out of it. We are coming out of it. Yes, we are, definitely. So, The Eye of the Storm by Sister Beloved. Good night, everyone, and I hope you're not trapped in any rain. See you this time next week.
Meditation and be still in the eye of the
Shout out to Dante's there for trying to call into the Blessed studio. Thank you. Give thanks.